I felt like you were very moved right now.
Because you're mommy.
No, did it move you?
That's nice.
No, did you not? But you said it, but you were very passionate about it. I wish you would recorded that.
I am.
You are recording. Oh.
Welcome to the Little Miss Movies podcast, where two movie-obsessed parents make their 10-year-old watch movies she'd never watch otherwise. This is episode number 7, Casablanca. This podcast was recorded before the attacks on our nation's capital.
Welcome back to the Little Miss Movies podcast. My name is Christina, and I am a writer of Hollywood biographies. In fact, I have one coming out this year. Mean, Moody, Magnificent Jane Russell and the Marketing of a Hollywood Legend is due out on June 15th of 2021. And I'm also the mother of one Little Miss Movies.
And my name is Josh. I am a writer of television and comic books and other things. And I also have a daughter who I call Little Miss Movies.
Hi, I'm Gable. I'm Little Miss Movies. I'm in 5th grade, soon in a few months, 6th grade. I'm 10 years old. I like reading, writing, playing video games, and watching movies.
So we go back and forth. We go back and forth on who picks the movies. And last week we did Interstellar, which was very much my pick, as the girls will happily tell you.
Very much.
Very much.
And so this week it is one of Christina's picks. And she got cheated because it happens to be one of my favorite movies also.
So, yeah, this week we are going to be talking about Casablanca, or Casablanca, however you like to pronounce it. I think I've always said Casablanca.
Yeah.
And this is a movie that we actually did watch a couple of years ago with Gable. It's on our scratch-off poster that we talked about a few episodes ago.
We will put a link for that to buy it in the description.
We're going to give them more free advertising. But we figured, there is a big age difference between an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. And so when the Hollywood Legion Theater, our favorite pandemic place to go, did a screening on Christmas Eve, we decided that we could not miss that, and that it would be a good time to revisit it with Gable and then to talk about it on the podcast. So we will be doing Casablanca today.
Do you like seeing it again? Did you remember it from last time, or just kind of bits and pieces? Or
I remember the airplane scene at the end. That's all.
I think that's the scene most people know.
Yeah. So it was almost like watching it fresh again then.
Yeah, I remember parts of it, but not a lot.
Okay.
I remember some of the characters or whatever, but not a lot of it.
Yeah, you maybe just had flashes of it, but not the storyline. All right, so for this second viewing, what did you think? Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I did enjoy it. I liked how at the end, spoiler alert, how he chose humanity, basically, half of humanity over himself, which showed that Rick was actually a nice person. Mm-hmm. Not a really dumb person, selfish.
Not a
selfish person.
Yeah, selfish, not dumb, selfish. But he showed that he can care about others, but he just doesn't do that often. Mm-hmm. But I like how he chose half of humanity over himself.
Yeah. Oh, and I think, spending quite a bit of time watching people not do that. I don't know. For me, it resonated that much more, to see these people making these, supreme
good
sacrifices.
Decisions.
Yeah, well, just supreme sacrifices for the greater good, because that's not something that seems to be permeating in our society as much as it should now. What?
As we say on the day when a bunch of people stormed a grocery store in Beverly Hills without masks on to scream, why is LA not open at a place that is open in LA?
Yeah. As our ICU. Yeah.
Common sense. We have a lot of it.
Yeah, we don't. As it turns out, we don't. But I think Casablanca is a nice reminder that, sometimes it needs to be about the greater good and not just about us. Like, we need to look past the nose on our faces. Do you agree?
Yeah. I do agree with that.
Well, at the time, because everything was going on with Hitler and with the concentration camps and with, even pre-war, like that stuff was going on and it was known about. Like, people knew what was happening. But nobody would get involved. Everyone thought they could fix it with diplomacy. And so it took a long time even to get the beginning of the war, getting some sort of intervention. And then it took, up until that point, the biggest attack on American soil possible when, at Pearl Harbor, to actually get people to get into the thing, to get Americans actually behind it. And one of the things this movie does so beautifully is it shows you why. It shows you why you fight for what's right rather than what's yours. And it's funny because it is such a it's like such a nationalistic movie in the right sense of the word, not in the right wing, Nazi-esque version of the word, because it really is. It's about having pride and not just in the country you come from, but the standards of what your world means. And so much of being an American is about fighting for democracy and fighting for fairness and fighting for truth, and that's literally what they stand for in the movie. And it's a thing that Rick doesn't value at the very beginning, or pretends to not value,
even though he does value
or has
it.
turned his back on.
And he lets Renault kind of get away with being a scumbag because there's no hair off his back, and yet you still see him, cheat to help people not get sucked into that stuff, which is sort of the fun part of it,
Yeah, that makes sense. What? What?
Just think if and one of the when we were talking about Die Hard a few weeks back,
it all comes back to Die Hard.
It does come back to Die Hard, but one of the things that Josh was pointing out, how like that is a movie with no fat on it. Like, every single scene in that movie and every piece of dialogue really drives the plot forward, and that's also like absolutely true of Casablanca. Like, there is not a wasted frame of film in that movie. Like, everything matters and everything pushes that movie forward. And I don't know if there's, another movie, with maybe the exception of Die Hard, that does it quite so well.
Citizen Kane.
I think Citizen Kane has fat. I think you could trim Citizen Kane down, but the fat is kind of what makes it work. There's Citizen Kane is like eating at a buffet of fine food, which is appropriate for
Orson would have probably appreciate that analogy.
Nothing but lobsters, just so many lobsters. They just keep bringing them, and he just keeps eating them. Citizen Kane is kind of, it is though, but it's kind of the opposite. It's like overtly artistic. It's overtly, it's purposefully terse. Like it goes out of its way to be complicated. And that's kind of its pleasure, is that you're almost wading through it as you're like looking for what's important. Whereas Casablanca is so like dynamic and sharp. And I actually think, when we've talked about it, we always talk about it as like this sort of freak accident that the movie got made, and that all the people in it and involved in the production side all sort of came together and made this perfect thing.
No. It is the studio system working.
Yeah.
Like, it is truly the studio system where, like, it is a bunch of just like professionals who know what they're doing, cranking that thing out.
Well, the part of that is that they didn't, like, the schedule wasn't super long. They knew what their days were. They knew what they needed to hit, and so it's almost like part of the reason why there is no fat is there was no fat to have, right? Like, you don't have room for that stuff when you're shooting that much, when you have a cast that big. Like, it's interesting. It's I think I've talked about it on the podcast before, but like, one of the things I do at work, especially on shows that have a big ensemble cast, is I think about it like math, right? You look at things and you figure out like, well, I need to get this number of scenes has to be there. They have to do this. They have to do that. And even for us, it becomes about production. So it becomes about, we can shoot this many scenes outside. That's it. That's what we can afford this week. So that's what we do. Yeah. And I think that's actually, interestingly, I think modern TV is a lot more similar to the studio system than people realize, because it is so budget driven and it is so productivity driven.
Yeah, whereas the movies, it isn't.
Yeah. Oh no, movies are ridiculous.
Now, the movies right now are so bloated. Like there is so much in Casablanca, and if that movie was made today, it would be like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
No, we would not be talking about that on this podcast if it was 4 hours long.
Well, I think
that's a big
no. I think that's part of why a lot of those movies don't get rewatched. I think those movies are a lot more disposable now. I think more movies that come out now are like along the lines of what we would think of as TV, as sort of classic, like traditional TV, of network TV almost, right? Like you just sort of, they're a thing you experience, then you move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And now it's the independent stuff, and it's the the streaming shows, and it's the sort of like higher caliber television that has that tight, purposeful feel to it.
But I think it's kind of all of the supremely wonderful things about the studio system just completely align for this movie in a way that I don't know that it ever actually did otherwise. Like I just love this movie. I have seen it so many times, and if it's on, I will sit down and watch it. Like, do you think this is a movie you could watch again?
Maybe. I think I'd rather watch Jaws or something, but sure.
But if it were on, and I was like,
sure.
Hey, Gable, Casablanca's on. Why don't you come sit down and watch it with me?
Yeah, sure.
You think you could do that?
Yeah. With popcorn, yeah.
With popcorn, yes. And M&Ms, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely
M&Ms.
M&Ms.
Bribe you with M&Ms.
A good thing with Casablanca is my M&Ms lasted like 20 minutes into the movie.
Did they? What, because you were so riveted?
No, because I didn't eat them for a while, but then, yeah.
Okay.
Slid you right down.
Okay. I mean, are there like specific things about the movie that you can think of that you really like, or that really stood out for you?
This is something that we learned from the commentary before the movie. From
Alan Rode, who wrote a book about director Michael Curtiz. And Alan is somebody I like to think I can call a friend, but yes, and he did the introduction at the Hollywood Legion Theater.
And he told everybody that all of the refugees were actual refugees.
Mm-hmm. All of the people.
I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
That was I think that was one of the really interesting parts for me, even though it wasn't actually something in the movie. They were just background characters. I thought it was really interesting that.
When the other thing he said is that there's the section in the movie where the Germans start singing the German anthem, and
and
they
Rick
sing La Marseillaise.
The French anthem.
Yeah, they sing La Marseillaise. And then as they're all singing, I guess while they were shooting it, everyone was actually sobbing, like they were all choking back tears because it meant so much to them, and it was such an actual rallying moment that meant something.
Yeah, so that by casting people that had that, they were actors, but they had that real life experience, that it gives it just, a little bit more of an air of authenticity, which I think is really impactful. Absolutely.
And it's your first Peter Lorre movie, I think, right?
Is it her first Peter? No, she saw Maltese Falcon.
Oh, right. She
remembers. Well, she was very confused by Maltese Falcon, so she's probably trying to forget it.
I think we paused it every 5 minutes.
Yeah. But this movie, you pretty much were able to understand what was going on?
Yeah. At first, I thought, at the end, I thought that he let her go because he would do anything, because he realized that he would do anything for her happiness, not he let her go for the greater good.
I think it's probably a little bit of both. Although
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it.
I think it's both, in that it's, he understands. I mean, she's gonna regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon, for the rest of her life. Like it's that feeling of knowing that what they have is special, and it was special, but they'll also have it, right? And it's not. I mean, it's in the dialogue. We'll always have Paris.
And it's just it's just not a thing that was ever meant to be permanent, with the world being the way it was.
And that was the thing, in the 40s, is that the whole world was in so much chaos. And I tend to obviously lean towards the Jewish side of it, just having known, growing up, a lot of my parents' friends, and just sort of in the Jewish community, you would constantly come across Holocaust survivors, and those are people whose whole families were just exterminated. People lost everybody, and so they, their relationships with everybody were just fleeting, because they never knew who was going to exist anymore. And I think that was kind of part of the whole, that was just became so much a part of life back then. So in terms of, now here's I always come back to this, because I find that it is a question that will eventually lead to nothing but anxiety for Christina and I. How did you find the romance stuff?
Bleh.
Really?
Was it really?
I know you're not. I know at this point in your life you are not a fan of romance of any kind, but really, come on.
Bleh. Bleh, bleh, bleh. That is all you're going to get from me.
That is one of the great romances of cinema history. No?
I mean, you don't have to kiss Humphrey Bogart, especially not now. Now it would definitely be bleh.
He's dead.
Yes, he's very dead.
He's dead.
But
no.
You didn't find their story compelling? The romance?
The story was compelling, but I think it did not have to be that crazy. Like
it's World War II. It's not gonna be that crazy.
No, it should not have been like he's choosing himself over the world, which it seemed like he was going to do. Like, it should not seem like it should not have been he was just kind of sacrificing everybody else for her. When it's like, well, they might die any day now, so why try and risk the entire world? So you can have somebody when, all the crazy.
Well, I think but I also I think it's sort of almost simpler than that, which is, in his mind, he'd fought so hard and so long and suffered for it. And then he found, what he thought was a reward. He thought, like, for all the suffering he'd done, he'd actually found somebody who, was a partner, and someone who could make him happy, and someone who, made him feel complete. And then it turned out it was a lie. And that combined with losing, so, like, as he was always they make a comment that, he always, when he did take up a cause, he always took up with the side that was the loser. So I think, like, the combination of the two just sort of sapped his will to fight. And so if it's a question between fighting and just, surviving, he's going to choose surviving. And he manages to not only do it, but to do it really well.
And how good is Humphrey Bogart at just playing broken?
Really good. Weirdly good.
Yeah, for being such a
weirdly good.
So often, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember him in 3 on a Match, the Pre-Code movie from 10 years earlier with Anne Dvorak? And that was a lot of the roles that he played, were just these very kind of hard-nosed, gangstery roles, which he's very good at as well. But to see him in this movie where, I mean, he is gut-wrenchingly broken, and he's so good at it.
Yeah, he's like weirdly good at it.
He's a very good actor. Like, he was a phenomenal actor.
I'm just still fathoming that. Like, he was so good at it.
Yeah.
So the thing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Like, it's like, it literally seems like he's that depressed in, real life.
You feel it.
Yeah,
Like,
you can like tell.
You absolutely feel that pain. Like he really conveys, and he, and there's certain scenes. There's like the scene where he's getting drunk, and where he's, all the gin joints and all the towns, and and that's a little bit more dramatic. But then there's other time, like when he first sees her, when Sam is playing as time goes by, and he walks into the room and sees her, and it's just this subtle like look on his face where you just kind of feel all of that life sap out of him as he's gut punched, is so effective and so moving.
No, the other thing about this movie is, and I think we've talked about it a little bit, Gable's, so there's a whole genre called film noir.
Yeah.
Right.
You told me about it.
Right. And so film noir is, it started in the late 40s, post-war. And they are predominantly crime movies. There's also some westerns. There's also some horror movies. There's, some romances. But these are movies that are, they were predominantly about people who came back from the war, who get involved in these sort of topsy-turvy, mystery cases. They were shot with virtually no budget. So they were shot really fast, which means they didn't have a lot of lighting. And when you don't have a lot of lighting, what happens?
You just get black.
Everything's very dark, hence film noir. Noir meaning black. Yeah. But the thing is when you actually kind of step back and you see the origin of it, this movie is one of the cornerstones. Like it really, as much as people will credit the earlier gangster movies as being part of it, this movie in particular is actually, like, if you didn't know it was made in 1941, right, and if you didn't know it was Humphrey Bogart and all those things, you would assume it was a 50s movie, because it is so much a film noir, right down to her holding a gun to him, because that's the twist. Every film noir is that she's a femme fatale. She's always going to have the gun. She's always going to turn on him. He's always being tricked. There's always another turn. When we saw Double Indemnity, right, that was sort of in that same mold, and that one was during the war, but it still had all those tropes and all those things, and it very much feels like a descendant of Casablanca, where it has this complicated romance, and it has, a complicated villain, it has kind of a complicated hero who has a complicated goal,
and is a complicated bad guy as well.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that really owes a pretty big debt, certainly in terms of American movies, owes a pretty big debt to Casablanca.
I did not like Double Indemnity. I did like Casablanca.
I know, we've talked about that
no Double Indemnity.
Okay,
No.
we will not make you watch Double Indemnity.
No Double Indemnity.
Wait till we show you DOA.
Older.
I can't wait to show her DOA.
DOA. DOA so
No.
good. DOA so good.
DOA opens. Hold on, let me just hear Gable. It's a movie that opens. It's shot point of view, so it's as though it's in the point of view of the person as they struggle to get into like the city hall and then into the homicide office of the detective's office. They push through the door, and then we see the person as they collapse on the front desk, and they say, "I'm here to report a murder." And the cops say, "Whose?" And he goes, "Mine."
Yeah, it sounds like Double Indemnity.
It's amazing.
No.
The best.
I will lock myself in my bedroom.
Oh,
I don't
so
want to
good.
watch another movie that's
Oh.
like Double Indemnity at all.
Back to Casablanca, though.
Sorry.
I do, have to briefly talk about Ingrid Bergman's wardrobe, which I think is amazing, because she can't be like full on like ridiculous glamorous way.
That'd be weird.
Right.
Could be like, why can't she? What's the reason that she can't get out of Casablanca again? Because she's incredibly rich.
That, and it's like
She's incredibly
impractical.
rich.
We have to watch some of the early Marlene Dietrich movies. You can
Yeah,
see some
because
of the things that she wore.
because it wouldn't make any sense for her to have really nice clothing, because it
She
just
does
be
have
like,
really nice clothing.
or like like really really fancy and pretty or
Ball
whatever.
gowns. No ball gowns.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not-
because like you said, it'd be impractical and it'd be really weird. And two, if she's so rich, why can't she fly herself out of Casablanca?
well, because Victor Laszlo can't leave because
Then why can't she pay a thing for him then too? She's so rich.
Well, because Captain Renault's the one who signs everybody's paperwork.
So they need the pre-existing
So
paperwork.
they need their existing. Yeah. So
Why can't she buy some black market paperwork?
because it's not easy to come by, and so
That is what they're doing. That's the plot of the movie.
yeah, that they're trying to get it, but Humphrey Bogart's the one who ended up with it.
Then why can't she like?
Hold a gun to his head. She does.
She does.
No. Why can't she bribe him with like $1 gazillion?
Because he doesn't care.
He doesn't care about
He
money.
doesn't care about money.
He cares
about
about
her.
revenge for being broken.
Yeah. But anyway, her clothes do manage to be very glamorous while also being completely practical. And so I do admire that.
And I don't know that she's prettier in anything. Like she's
luminous
like,
in this. Like it is, again, like it is just, every star of the Hollywood studio system and Warner Brothers aligning in this movie.
I just always think of her in what's the Hitchcock that she's in? The Notorious?
It's Notorious, the one with Gregory Peck.
Yeah. I just always think of her in Notorious.
Hitchcock, did we ever talk about Psycho?
We've not done a Psycho episode.
We talked about it a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah. Why, you want to do a Psycho episode at some point?
Yeah, you said that we would do a what's his name episode?
Hitchcock?
Hitchcock episode.
Well, we'll see if we can find another one.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can figure out
I feel
another
like maybe
Hitchcock
we should
for you.
just do Psycho, because it's hard to talk about 3 movies at once.
I guess you want to watch Psycho again? Is that why? What if we watch
No.
Psycho 2, 3, and 4?
No.
Do you know how the sequels to Jaws are terrible, Gable? Well, buckle up.
No.
I will still argue.
Henry Thomas in one of them?
In the sequel to
Psychos?
Psychos?
I think
don't
he's
know,
in
is
one
he?
of them. I think, Elliot from E.T.
Honey, I have the foreign box set, which also includes the pilot for the 90s TV show. Not to be confused with the recent TV show. There's been multiple TV shows.
Another
Anyways,
thing I really love about Casablanca, but like one of the subtle things I love is poor Sam, is like gets like caught in the middle, and every time they like ask him to play as time goes by, he like rolls his eyes, and I feel so bad for him that they keep making him play that song. He's so irritated by it all.
You should just play the Knock on Wood song over and over again. And throughout the movie, you can just be like, knock, knock, knock onto the car, on like the dashboard or whatever.
Well, I love in the scene where Bogey first sees Ingrid Bergman, and Sam's playing as time goes by. And the second, like, Bogey walks over to confront her, Sam is like, I'm out. He, like, can't wheel that piano away quick enough.
He does a full-on Three Stooges as he's just like, gig, as fast as he can.
Can't get away quick enough.
Yeah, what did you think about Sam and how they use Sam in the movie?
I feel so bad for him. So he has to play that song over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, but I love the relationship between him and Bogey is nice though, because it's just very genuine. Because I think he's one of the few people in the movie that Bogey like genuinely allows himself to show that affection for, which I think is nice.
Yeah, and it's a odd, and it's sort of a rare part at the time too, to have a black man in this position as sort of an equal, and they even make the point of it that he's when Rick is selling off the restaurant and he's selling it to I can't remember his name, the Blue Parrot guy, to Sydney Greenstreet, and he makes the point that he gets a percentage of the door, like a sizable percentage of the door, that it's just sort of given that like that's what he's worth, and so therefore he's like a business owner with him, and that he's given such a great part. Like we've talked about movies from the period already, right, where we see that sort of like how shoddily they treat black actors and black characters. Yeah. And he's genuinely like, he is played as not just incredibly talented, but that he's essential to the makeup of that place. Like the place would not function without him. Yeah. Which I think is really nice. And I think his having that relationship and having it even just, and it's funny sort of when you think about it, that they're having these romantic moments and Sam's in the background waving, but the thing is he's their family. Like it's part of that relationship of like, they're brothers with each other, which is such a nice, like, it's such a nice way to handle it and to almost sidestep all the issues. and
Yeah,
just
not
do it.
only is he essential for, Rick's to run, but he's essential for just Rick to run.
Yeah.
Like he's, I think, like this one kind of reliable constant in his life. Which, yeah, and it's handled really well, and you don't see that too often. But man, he just has to play that song.
It's so
He has
sad.
to play that song so much.
There's literally one other song that he plays, and it's Knock on Wood, which that was fun. What
Knock
lasted?
on Wood's a fun song, huh?
Knock on wood.
Yeah. And that piano's still around. You actually
You've seen
you
it.
saw that piano
When?
when you were really little. So I have a friend of mine who works at Warner Brothers doing
Really?
sound restoration, and so when you were little enough that when I was still strapping you to the baby Bjorn. And so we actually went and visited Kenton, and we got in one of the golf carts, and he actually gave us a tour of the Warner Brothers lot when you were a baby. And they have a little museum there. And so afterwards, he dropped us off at the museum, and we went inside, and they actually had the piano from Casablanca on display. And so you got to see it. But you were very
But
little.
I was like a 1-year-old.
I think you were even younger than that.
I was a 0-year-old.
Yeah, I think you were a 0-year-old. You got to see that, and then you got to see one of Betty Davis's costumes from Dark Victory, which you loved.
And there's probably Harry Potter stuff as well.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
you're
'cause the
right,
exhibit
there
had
would
Harry
have
Po- had, like, the
been.
actual-
Yeah, you saw
yeah.
Harry Potter stuff. Oh, I should go dig up the. I should dig up the photos I took that day.
So
You got to see them.
get ready, Gable. This is I'm cheating because I actually have to use Wikipedia because I can't remember this stuff.
As a
Would
librarian,
you-
as a librarian,
It bothers you.
I must express my yes.
What would you think about, say, a sequel to Casablanca?
Maybe?
So, movie came out, it was a big hit, and immediately they
Yeah.
thought, let's do this again. And so there was a sequel that was going to have the same cast. It was going to have everybody back, except for, I think, Ingrid Bergman. Sorry.
Because she's off saving the world
Yes,
with Laszlo.
she's doing something important instead of being in a crappy sequel. So that fell apart. That never happened. Then in the 70s, they tried to make another one. They tried to do another sequel, and that fell apart. In the 1980s, they tried to do a remake set in South America. Still called Casablanca. A little bit weird. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, but
No
that's cool.
sense.
It's that South American Casablanca.
It's sort of a hybrid, Boys of the Band and Casablanca. Who knows? And then they tried to do a couple of different TV shows.
Well, didn't they actually do a TV show?
I think they did a pilot. I believe there was a pilot for Cabo Blanco, which was the
my
South American
God.
set retooling. And then they also tried Havana, which was it was set in Cuba. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and there was a word that they were going to do a remake or possibly a sequel. Get ready. You're not going to know who this is, but your mom will, and your mom's going to cackle very loudly.
Okay.
So get ready to back up, Chrissy,
Mm-hmm.
for your microphone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go right here.
It's going to be set in war-torn Iraq,
Mm-hmm.
starring Madonna.
As Rick?
I don't know. They apparently couldn't find a legitimate Rick.
So they
Oh no,
said
I take it
Madonna.
back. Oh no, they couldn't find somebody. No, hold on, I'm going back. I totally misread this. This is amazing. I'm sorry. I am literally just reading Wikipedia
Yeah.
on a podcast, but it's
Again,
amazing.
as a
No, but
librarian,
I've
this
looked into this before because I also was so horrified by it all. What it is it becomes about Rick trying to find his and Ilsa's illegitimate son.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What?
So they went the Godfather 3 route.
Yes, so they're trying to find they had a baby that Rick didn't know about,
What?
and Rick is trying to find the baby.
Okay, honey,
That makes
just
no sense.
Back away from the Wikipedia, darling. Back
So
away.
that's the like quote unquote official versions that they tried to make. But this movie has a very, very long shadow over cinema history. The one that I always think of is there's a movie called Play It Again, Sam, that was actually a Broadway play and written by a writer-director named Woody Allen, who never won an Academy Award. Did he win an Academy Award finally?
He didn't win for Annie Hall?
No, he didn't win, I don't think. But it was one of his first movies. He wrote it and starred in it. And it's an entire movie. The premise is that he's sort of a loser and he's in love with a girl, but he doesn't know how to stand up to her and how to like tell he feels, tell her how he feels. And so he is visited by essentially the ghost of Humphrey Bogart and given advice that comes straight out of Casablanca. And it even goes so far as to have sort of the finale of the movie is the scene at the airport. But with the girl that he's in love with and him having to make that decision between what's right for her and what's right for him. And it's actually like, it's pretty, for being a Woody Allen movie that Woody Allen didn't direct, it's actually pretty good.
And the thing I'll say about Casablanca and just how much it has like resonated and kind of embedded itself into our society is that I think somebody could watch Play It Again, Sam, having never seen Casablanca and know what it was referencing. Yes.
I was going to say this before, but I don't think I can say it now.
Why?
You can say anything.
Was if I was going to make a sequel to Casablanca,
Mm-hmm.
I would have made it about Rick and what's the piano man's name?
Sam.
Mm-hmm. Trying to find a way out of Casablanca, and like the movie, and so the whole movie would be about them like trying to find like somewhere where they could get papers and get them signed, or anything like something like that. And then the end of the movie would be him seeing Elsa again. Was him like arriving,
Getting to America.
Oh,
Elsa,
is it? And you think that in the end they do get together?
Yeah.
That's what you want to see?
Yeah.
But you don't like romance.
She's like a Rocky 2 fan. That's what that is.
But he'd get back and then he'd like and then he'd like be going out of the airport and then he'd meet her and then they become friends again.
Because
So you-
kissing is yucky.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you want that real happy ending.
Yeah, the real happy ending, not the supposedly happy but not very happy ending of Casablanca.
Yeah, one of the other things I find interesting about it is that it was released during World War II. So it's actually, and there were, I think, this certainly wasn't the only movie about World War II released during World War II. But I find that whole kind of concept so interesting. Because I have like no desire to watch a movie about like the Iraq War,
I thought you were going to say the pandemic. You don't want to watch Pandemic.
Or the pandemic. Well, I was going to say, I have no desire to watch a movie about the pandemic, but there was that movie we watched on Shudder that was all filmed. That was like a giant Zoom thing, and that was really good.
There was also my TV show that I sold that was about a pandemic. God damn it.
Same with like, 9/11 happened almost 20 years ago. I have no desire to watch a movie that has anything to do with 9/11. But I find it so interesting that people were watching the movies about the conflict that was like actively
I would have like
disrupting
rebelled.
their lives.
If I was there, I probably would have like rebelled against Casablanca or something.
But I just find it so interesting.
And I forgot to say earlier, if I made a sequel of Casablanca, I would have called it Casablanca 2, Rick's Journey.
Honey, the proper name for every sequel is Electric Boogaloo. Always. And they try to save the youth center by breakdancing. Every movie. That is the sequel. God, I wish there was breakdancing in Jaws 2. It'd be amazing.
There's no. I haven't.
There might be. It's true.
Psycho
There's dancing
2?
at the very least.
Psycho 2?
There's no breakdancing in Psycho 2.
There's no. Yeah.
Die Hard 2? Die Harder? Electric Boogaloo?
I mean, that sounds better than actual Die Hard 2. I will say that.
Die Hard 2, Die Harder, Electric Boogaloo.
I feel like the second we get off this podcast, Gable is going to go write her sequel to Casablanca. You seemed really hopped up on that.
Now it's going to be called Casablanca 2, Electric Boogaloo.
I have one other. I have
I
one
like
other.
Rick's journey better.
I have one other tie-in thing that's gonna make her freak out and be super psyched.
What?
There's a quantum leap.
What?
There's a
There is?
Casablanca quantum leap.
What? He becomes Rick?
It's like sort of. It's a thing where like through like he turns into like a Humphrey Bogart-y guy, and it's all these like Humphrey Bogart tropes throughout the whole thing. And I think he looks like Humphrey Bogart, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
And then the end of it ends as like a climactic chase that ends at the airport. And I believe they shot it. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they shot it at Van Nuys, which is where they shot the original.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like pretty close. Like it
Spot on.
looks really good.
Daddy, you're going outside and grabbing that like right after
Mhm.
we're done. You know that,
Yeah, we
right?
need to go back to Quantum Leap. We stopped watching it. I want to get to the Maryland episode.
It's a long way to
I
go.
love them. I know that
It's a
Maryland
long road
episode's
to hoe.
way- it's way later.
I want to do another episode where he turns into a girl. That episode was funny, I think.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Was it funny?
Which one?
Don't he turns into a girl?
The working girl episode where he's a
It gets really weird at the end.
does get real
though.
weird at the end.
I don't remember it. I remember there was like one that like started, like it showed who jumped into, but then like when we went to the next season, it wasn't there. It was just a different
They're out of
episode.
order.
Yeah, I think the DVDs are out of order. We are so off track right now. Oh, and then, but I will say there is one more Casablanca tie-in that I would like to mention, and that is a whole arc of the Doctor Who comic books that your dad wrote. That is Casablanca.
You wrote a comic where Doctor Who was Casablanca.
He was the whole city. It's very strange. I did. I wrote. It was. Who was it? It was the 10th Doctor. And they
He was
arrived.
the city.
What?
He was the city.
No. He arrives in Casablanca. The TARDIS appears in Casablanca. And it's right around. It's exactly the same day that the story of the movie starts. And
The TARDIS.
he finds himself. Tied in, and of course, he meets Rick, and they both comment on each other's bow ties because bow ties are cool.
Depending on who you are.
Yeah, and that was Matthew Dow Smith drew it, who's a good buddy of mine. So that was fun.
That was fun. I think that is the one comic you've written that your daughter can read.
I wrote Spider-Man comics that she could read with delightful,
You did.
with delightful jokes.
You did.
I can read your Poorly Drawn Animals. That works.
There's some swearing in that too. I guess you're fine to read swearing now. We've really become lax over this past
Yeah,
course
you don't
year.
care.
Last
You
year.
don't care at
And we're
all.
broken now.
We are broken. I do find it interesting that for as long as you worked in comics, I have written infinitely more comics that our daughter
can
can read.
Yeah, you
Than
wrote a
you.
bunch of pony comics. Of
Yeah.
course I can read them.
See,
When are you going to go back to writing pony comics? Why don't you write pony
this
comics?
is really
Yeah, I don't
this is
know.
getting very heavy again.
I don't know. Yeah,
Right, pony
I-
comics.
I
There's a
guess-
lot
I
of
guess-
condemnation
I guess I
in
need
here.
to go back and see if I can do a Casablanca.
Yes.
My Little
You did a
Pony.
Maltese Falcon one.
I did do a multi.
So you need to do a Casablanca one now.
Yes.
And a Jaws one.
Okay.
Which brings us to Gable.
How many Gable stars does he get?
Yes.
How many Gable smiles? Is that
Gable
what
smiles,
is that
what did we
last
do?
time? Was it Gable smiles?
Yeah.
How many Gable smiles out of how many? 5?
5?
Sure.
4.
What?
Not
'Cause
4.5.
Why would it not be 5?
No, 4.5. Because of all the icky romance stuff.
Oh, you're taking away half a smile for that, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd also like to point out we didn't discuss that this is possibly the most quotable movie, along with Mommy Dearest. They both have so many amazing lines.
Just don't get the two confused.
No wire hangers ever.
In Paris.
Paris. It's true. They're really not fans.
But it is, I mean, it is
Even
so,
your dry cleaning comes back on wooden hangers in Paris. It's classy.
But it's so, and I want to point out, I love Joan Crawford and I love Mommy Dearest, and I think it is possible to love them both and also completely separate the two. But it is so incredibly quotable, and it's just one of those. Oh my God, you're like crying. You were laughing so hard. The hiccups are gonna come any second. When Gable laughs really hard, she gets hiccups. So.
It's my unique thing.
Yes. But it is just so incredibly quotable, and it's just one of those movies that, because I didn't see this movie till I think I was in my 20s for the first time, and yet I knew all of those lines. And I think some of the lines I didn't even know they were from Casablanca. I just knew them, and then when I was watching it,
You're like, oh
and
my
the line,
god,
I'm like, oh, this is where that's
Casablanca.
from. Yes.
I remember you almost definitely don't remember this because I think you're just old enough not to have known it. There was a cartoon called Shirt Tales.
Oh,
Do you remember the Shirt Tales?
yes, I remember
Oh,
Shirt.
did you
Oh
really?
my, what? Yeah, why would that was
Oh, right. So your siblings.
no.
That was
That
you?
yeah, that show was on like 83.
Would you remember the?
Yeah, there was the bogey character,
and he said all the quotes all the time.
Yes.
So that is how I know all of them. It's from Shirt
It's
Tales
from
Monkey.
Shirt Tales.
Yes.
You must have watched repeats.
Yeah, it was just on.
Yeah, it was on all the time.
Yeah.
But, oh yeah, I remember Shirt Tales. Absolutely. But yeah, there was a Humphrey Bogart monkey character on Shirt Tales. Yeah.
I'm just imagining.
Yeah. So I mean, it just So I mean, this movie is just really part of our society, and so I hope in a few years it will have 5 Gable smiles.
Would you?
Never.
So would you? Here's the questions we always do. Would you recommend it?
No.
I didn't even tell you who I'm asking if you're going to recommend it for.
Oh my
I
god.
was going to say, would you recommend it for friends of movies in the 40s about World War II and romance?
Then yes.
Would you recommend it to a regular audience, a general audience?
Do you mean kids, adults,
People.
teenagers?
Let's start
Yeah.
at people.
Yeah.
People.
Would you recommend it to teenagers?
Yeah.
Would you recommend it to your contemporaries,
What's that mean?
people your age?
No.
What about smart people your age?
Sure.
What about dumb people your age?
No.
No.
That is not for us.
Why
to
not?
determine.
But why not?
Why wouldn't you recommend this movie?
Because of all the icky romance, I told you.
There's not that.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
The funny
Yes,
part is it's going to be
there
like a light
is.
switch. Like it's going to go off like a light switch where suddenly she's like, oh, the romance. And we're going to be like, nope, nope. We're shutting it down. No more. You're going to watch nothing but Schwarzenegger movies from here
Yeah.
forward.
And that's when we watch all the Die Hard sequels.
No.
They are very unromantic. Unless you consider the amazing chemistry between Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson in Die Hard with a Vengeance, which I do.
I think
Oh
that's
my
fair.
god. I was
think
putting away your
that's fair.
DVDs and I found them. I was like, what the heck is this?
Classic is what it is.
I want to watch Die Hard 2, Die Hard, or Electric Boogaloo.
Mhm.
Daddy,
You're
go
lucky.
go ahead and make that sequel.
We should show her Breakin'. I wonder how she would take
Daddy.
Breakin'. Or Breakin' 2.
Daddy, you need to go.
Save that for one of
You
your
need to
episodes.
go. You need to go and like start your own production company and go start making Die Hard 2, Die Hard, or Electric Boogaloo.
I think they would sue me. I think the copyright holders of Die Hard would come after me.
Then it would be, Fly Hard. I don't know.
I know
Like
we've seen.
fly like an airplane.
Do you want to do real quick the
Like
other
an
movies? We've seen?
airplane.
Let's do the other movies we've seen
Like an airplane.
since we recorded.
Daddy, delete that part out.
Nope, I'm leaving it.
Oh, yeah,
That's staying.
Fly Hard is.
That's staying.
Fly Hard belongs to the world now.
Yeah.
It's a movie about a bird that.
So we did. What else have you seen?
I
You
don't
saw We saw this week. We saw Wonder Woman, 1984. Gable, how many? Did you give a thumbs up, thumbs down? 4 smiles, 5 smiles, 2 smiles, 1 smile.
4.5 Gable smiles.
That's madness. That is sheer and utter madness.
So you gave it the same. You gave Wonder Woman 84 the same amount of smiles as Casablanca, one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yes.
Okay, moving on.
I think your opinion has just become invalid
I think
for
we
everybody
just
listening.
lost a bunch of listeners.
That was it. That was the end of the world. That you're the same thing.
Why?
Because one of those things is the greatest movie ever made, and one of them is Wonder Woman 1984. I mean, they're two different things. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that one of them is Casablanca, and the other one is very definitely not.
Yeah.
They were both made by the same studio. I suppose that's a similarity.
4.5 Gable smiles.
Okay.
And then we saw, what was the thing last? We watched the Esther Williams movie.
We watched $1 Million Mermaid, which I don't think I'd actually ever seen. What did you think of that?
4 Gable smiles.
4 Gable Smiles? What did you like about that?
It was not what I expected it to be about.
What did you expect?
A mermaid?
Yeah. A
And
mermaid.
you thought there was going to be literally a mermaid?
Yeah. Like in
Okay.
Splash.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Anything that has mermaid in the title makes me think there's a mermaid in it. And when there's not a mermaid in it, it disappoints me.
What about Splash that doesn't have the word mermaid in the title? It does have a mermaid tail on the logo.
Yeah, it's a mermaid
I guess
movie.
we'll need to visit Mr. Peabody and the mermaid.
But
I feel like there's one other thing we watched. Was there another thing we watched together?
I mean, Meet Me in St. Louis.
Oh, Meet Me in St. Louis.
4.5 Gable Smiles.
4.5?
Yeah.
You liked it that much?
hmm
That's very good.
What was your favorite part of that?
I liked their snow boys or their snow. Oh my god, I'm used to talking in Animal Crossing.
In Animal Crossing, they're
Animal
not snowmen.
Crossing.
They are
They're
snow
snow
boys.
boys.
Snowman. I like the snowman. That was cool.
You didn't, yeah. How about Judy Garland just ripping all of our hearts out with "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas"?
Yeah.
That was good. And the trolley song.
The trolley song, yeah.
Ugh.
That's very dangerous.
Oh, that's right. We saw Soul. We saw Soul that
Oh,
morning.
yeah, we watched Soul.
What'd you think of Soul?
I liked it.
Yeah.
And
I liked it.
how much did you like it?
4.5 Gable Smiles.
Your ratings, maybe we need to come up with like more gradients between 4 and 5. Or possibly explain that there needs to be like a wider...
4 1/4. That work?
You gotta really...
Okay, so Casablanca, Soul, Wonder Woman 84, all the same. Got
Is
it.
it really just things that you have recently seen? All those things are the same rating? Is that how things work?
No.
No.
Okay, hold on. I'm changing my rating system. Casablanca, 4 3/4.
Uh-huh.
Wonder Woman 84,
Mm-hmm.
4 1/4.
Okay.
And Soul 4.5.
Okay.
Is that better?
I mean, that's better. Still
Better.
seems weird, but okay.
Okay. And then we also, not a movie, but we also watched one of my perennial favorites, the Judy Garland Christmas special. What did you think of that?
That was very long.
It's an hour long.
Yeah, that's long. That's a long Christmas special, unless it's like a movie, like Star Wars or something. Then
Star Wars is 2 hours long.
yeah, that allows it to be a long Christmas special.
Now, should we watch that Star Wars holiday special
No.
and compare the two?
No.
And then
Oh,
see what you
God.
think?
The Star Wars holiday special, which feels like about 25 hours. I would never do that to you. I love you. I love you too
I
much.
found it when shelving DVDs, and I was like, Daddy, why do you have this? And then,
Oh, we have a DVD copy of this?
Oh, we do.
I know
we
I have a
do.
VHS copy somewhere.
We do.
Have you watched it
And I
recently,
asked-
Josh?
Yeah, we
And
watched
I-
it last year.
No,
With
we
her.
didn't. No,
No,
we
we
didn't.
didn't.
Maybe 2 years ago. We did.
No, that was like 3 years ago.
Okay, we watched it 3 years
we
ago.
didn't watch it.
Yeah, we
Oh
did.
my God,
I remember.
we did.
We watched it.
Once B. Arthur comes out, that thing comes alive.
Well, it does. Now, that's true.
And Art Carney. And Art
No,
Carney.
It doesn't quite come alive as
No,
Art
I
Carney
found
the way
it.
it does with B. Arthur.
No, I found it, and I was like, Daddy, why do you have this? I thought you didn't really like it. And he was like, Oh no, it's awesome. I was like, What?
I will say, like one of my favorite things on The Mandalorian is when they do the Boba Fett rocket joke, where he makes him bend over. He like gets when what's his name is when Timothy Oliphant is wearing the armor,
Uh-huh.
is wearing the Boba Fett armor. Spoilers if you're watching The Mandalorian and are somehow
Haven't
not
finished
spoiled.
it?
Yeah, Timothy Oliphant's wearing the armor, and they're fighting the big monster, and then finally, the Mandalorian like essentially like hits him, so he leans over, and then he hits him on the back, and it like launches the rocket. It's just like the rocket action. That's the rocket action
I've
that
never
made
seen
it made the
that
toy come
episode.
back because people were blinding themselves.
Yes.
Oh.
I've never seen that episode, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Cool. I spoiled it for you.
It's okay. You
I'm
probably
never
say it
gonna
was
watch
4.5
it.
stars anyway.
The greatest thing that ever happened. I have no idea what this is.
It gets, since I don't know what it is, it gets 0 stars, because I don't know what it is.
I mean, that's
Zero
more
gave a
reasonable
smile.
than giving everything 5 or 4.5. Seems like a much better system to me.
Things that I haven't seen get 0, and everything else gets 4.5.
Sure.
What
It
do
should
you-
get not
what-
applicable.
What do you give Jaws?
10.
It's not a thing. Can't do it.
Yes, I can.
No, it doesn't work.
It's her system.
It's
and she's
my
sticking to it.
system. I get movies whatever I want.
All right. Well, we're gonna be back next week, and I think it's my turn again.
Oh God, yes.
Oh no, I'm scared to see what Daddy's gonna pick next.
We're gonna do
No horror.
Barry Lyndon by Stanley Kubrick. Gable, it's 4.5 hours long,
No.
and it was shot entirely by candlelight.
What?
It was. It's crazy. I'm not gonna make you watch it.
No.
I can barely make it through it.
Do we get to do 1776 at some point?
Oh, vey, that's yours. You're welcome to cash in on that. She's been waiting for years to watch that DVD.
Yeah.
Just sitting there waiting.
Can we do Short Circuit? Can't remember it.
No.
I remember number
I don't
5
think
is
so.
alive. That's
Number
all.
5 is alive. That's
all.
true.
That's all I remember.
And there's massive amounts of racism. Like, that is a super racist movie, it turns out.
You know it's about a robot.
Well, the
Maybe
robot's not
number 5.
racist. The robot is fine. The robot is not racist.
Good.
But yeah, it's got a real problem. It's got a real problem section.
Okay, I don't remember it at all.
Yeah.
I remember number 5 is alive. That's all.
Our Casablanca episode really has gone off the rails.
It really has.
Yeah.
And with that, thank you guys for listening. We'll be back in a week with something.
Yes.
We're not sure what.
That's Daddy's pick.
That's my pick. It'll be
But I can almost guarantee you,
Taxi Driver.
Gable will give it 4.5 smiles.
Taxi Driver, Raging Bull. It's gonna be a double header of Heaven's Gate.
Daddy, those both get 0 Gable stars.
Well, you
Gable
haven't seen him
smiles.
yet. You haven't seen him yet.
Yes, that's why they
That's
both
good.
get
That's
0.
9 to 5.
No.
Working girl.
No.
Let's do all these things all at once. We're gonna do the entire first season of Barney Miller. Does that count as a
No.
movie? Is that a movie? Does that count as a
No.
movie? No.
The entire first season?
Yes, whole thing.
That might count. That might count.
Gable, it's only 11 hours long when you think about it like that.
No. That's almost as long as a flight to Paris.
It's a sitcom. It's not
that
funny.
Makes me want to watch even less.
Ridiculous. Thank you guys for listening.
We'll see you next week.
When we launch our Little Miss Television podcast. Everything gets 4.5 Gable smiles.
See you next time.
Bye.
The Little Miss Movies podcast is hosted by Christina Rice, Gable Fialkov, and me, Josh Fialkov. We're recorded, mixed, and produced in North Hollywood, California. Series art by Gabo, episode art by Gable Fialkov, theme song by Gibby and the V's, all contents copyright 2020, Gloria Shines Inc. Visit us online for more at littlemissmovies.com.